Every one of us carries a past. Fragments of childhood, triumphs, mistakes, regrets, and joys. Memory is the thread that ties these fragments into what we call identity. But is this thread a tether, holding us back, or a lifeline, guiding us forward? Philosophers and psychologists alike have asked whether memory is destiny or possibility. John Locke famously argued that memory is the essence of personal identity. Without memory, there is no self. Yet others, like Friedrich Nietzsche, warned that clinging too tightly to memory can suffocate life. In this exploration, we will ask, is memory a burden, a weight we drag across time, or is it a blueprint, a pattern we can build from? And perhaps it is both. As we reflect, keep in mind your own story. What would you be without your memories, and what do they make you today? Memory is not simply a storage system, it is the architecture of identity. When you say, "I am me," what you mean is deeply connected to what you remember, your childhood, your culture, your past. Without memory, the continuity of the self unravels. John Locke believed that personal identity rests entirely on memory, that to remember an action is to be the same person who performed it. Neuroscience confirms the intuition. Damage to memory regions in the brain can fundamentally alter personality. A person may forget who they are and in some ways cease to be who they were. Yet memory does more than preserve. It also edits, reinterprets, and reconstructs. We are not simply chained to memory, we are also storytellers, reauthoring our lives through the act of remembering. We often think of memory as a perfect recording, but science shows us it is far from infallible. Memories fade with time, they distort with retelling, and they can even be fabricated entirely. Daniel Schachter, in his book The 7 Sins of Memory, identifies how our recollections are vulnerable to decay, distortion, and bias. A childhood memory may feel vivid, yet it may be half invention. Eyewitness accounts, often trusted in courts, are notoriously unreliable. Memory is fragile because it is active. The brain does not retrieve a file, it reconstructs a story. Every time we recall an event, we slightly alter it. Thus, memory is not just burden or blueprint, it is also illusion. And that illusion raises the question, if our memories are so unstable, how stable are we? Forgetting is often viewed as a flaw, a failure of the mind. Yet without forgetting, life would become unbearable. Imagine carrying every detail of every moment forever, an endless flood of information. Psychologists suggest that forgetting is essential to mental health, allowing us to prioritize what matters. But forgetting can also be devastating. To forget a loved one's face or an important life lesson is to lose part of ourselves. Lisa Geneva, in her book Remember, explores how forgetting is not always weakness, but a natural process of focus and survival. So, is forgetting a curse or a blessing? Perhaps it is both, the gift that allows us to move forward, and the thief that takes pieces of us as we go. When memory vanishes suddenly, identity trembles. Amnesia, caused by injury or illness, shows us how deeply memory defines the self. Without past memories, even simple tasks can feel alien. Entire lives become puzzles missing their pieces. The National Institute on Aging reports that memory loss disorders are not rare, and millions face this struggle daily. For families, the pain is not only watching memory fade, but watching identity dissolve. Who is a person when they cannot remember who they are? This condition reminds us of Locke's claim, without memory the self cannot persist. But amnesia also raises hope. New memories can still be formed, new identities reshaped, suggesting that even without memory, life can find a path forward. In the absence of past, the present grows heavier, but also more precious. On the opposite end of forgetting lies hyperthymesia, the rare condition where individuals recall nearly every day of their lives in extraordinary detail. At first, this might sound like a superpower, but those who live with it describe it as a burden. Nothing is forgotten. Every embarrassment, every grief, every mistake is as vivid as the moment it happened. The mind becomes a prison of unrelenting memory. Scientific American has profiled such individuals, noting both the marvel and the torment of total recall. While amnesia shows us life without memory, hyperthymesia shows us life with too much of it. Both conditions suggest that balance is key. To live well is neither to forget everything, nor to remember it all, but to hold memory in its rightful place. Traumatic memories are unique in their persistence. Unlike ordinary memories, which fade and distort, trauma can remain seared into the mind with haunting clarity. For many survivors of violence, war, or abuse, these memories dictate life long after the event. The American Psychological Association has documented how trauma rewires the brain, triggering responses even when danger is gone. Yet trauma is not only a source of suffering. Post-traumatic growth shows that memory of pain can inspire resilience, empathy, and strength. In this way, memory is paradoxical again. It can trap us in fear or guide us to rebuild. The question becomes, how do we honor painful memories without being consumed by them? Memory in trauma reminds us that the past is not only personal, it is physical, written into the body and brain. Memory is not only individual, it is collective. Cultures preserve memory through rituals, traditions, and monuments. Nations remember wars, victories, and tragedies, shaping collective identity. Without shared memory, there is no shared belonging. The philosopher Maurice Halbwachs argued that memory is always socially framed, that even personal recollections are tied to collective narratives. Consider Holocaust memorials or Independence Day celebrations. Both are acts of cultural memory. They remind individuals not just of their past, but of who they are together. Yet collective memory can also be selective, silencing uncomfortable truths. Whose memories are honored and whose are forgotten? This tension shows us that memory is power, capable of uniting or dividing entire societies. Literature is filled with explorations of memory. Marcel Proust, in Search of Lost Time, described how a single taste, a madeleine dipped in tea, could awaken an ocean of forgotten memory. Jorge Luis Borges imagined characters cursed with perfect recall, unable to live in the present. Toni Morrison wrote of memory as both wound and healing, especially in the lives of those scarred by slavery. Writers remind us that memory is not only a scientific phenomenon, but an artistic one, shaping our creativity, our longing, and our pain. Through art, memory becomes visible, shareable, and transformative. It reminds us that we do not carry our pasts alone. Stories make them collective and therefore survivable. Humanity has always sought to preserve memory outside the mind. Writing, photography, film, and now digital archives extend our memory beyond biology. Today, the internet remembers more than any individual could. Social media preserves birthdays, photographs, and conversations, sometimes long after we wish they would fade. Technology democratizes memory, but it also raises questions. Does outsourcing memory weaken our own? What happens when algorithms decide what memories we see or forget? Just as memory is selective, so too is digital curation. Our technological archives ensure that little is truly forgotten, but they also remind us that not everything preserved is equally meaningful. The power of memory, whether biological or digital, lies not only in storage, but in meaning. Are we defined forever by our past, or can we truly reinvent ourselves? Memory ties us to who we were, but it does not fully determine who we become. Addiction recovery, personal transformation, and spiritual rebirth all suggest that people can change radically. Yet even in change, memory lingers. It can serve as a warning, a lesson, or a ghost. Friedrich Nietzsche challenged us to embrace memory through his idea of eternal recurrence. to live as if we would relive our lives endlessly. Transformation, then, is not about erasing memory, but about reframing it. We cannot escape the past, but we can reinterpret it. In doing so, memory becomes blueprint rather than burden, a foundation to build upon rather than a chain to drag. Strangely, memory does not only serve the past, it also builds the future. Neuroscience shows that the same brain regions involved in remembering are active when we imagine what is to come. This means that memory is rehearsal, a simulation engine for possibility. Without memory, we could not plan, dream, or hope. Alzheimer's patients often lose not only their past, but their ability to picture the future. Thus, memory is both anchor and sail. It roots us in history while propelling us forward. The blueprint of the future is drawn with the ink of the past. To ask whether memory is burden or blueprint is also to ask, what kind of future are we imagining with the memories we choose to keep alive? Philosophers from Buddhism to existentialism ask us to consider the weight of memory. In Buddhist teaching, attachment to the past creates suffering. To let go is to awaken to the present. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre, on the other hand, argued that even though the past shapes us, we are condemned to be free in each moment, able to choose anew. Both views challenge us. Must we release memory to be free, or embrace it as the material of freedom? The act of letting go is never simple. To let go of memory may feel like betrayal, but it may also be liberation. Perhaps the wisdom lies not in forgetting, but in learning how to carry the past lightly. Memory, then, becomes less a burden and more a companion, not the jailer, but the witness of our journey. Consider this: memory is the architect of identity, yet it is also a shifting, fragile construct. We cannot live without it, but neither can we live fully within its walls. The stories we remember make us who we are, but the way we choose to tell those stories shapes who we will become. Some memories bind, others liberate. Some weigh us down, others lift us up. In the end, perhaps memory is both burden and blueprint, a paradox we cannot resolve, but must live. Each of us must decide, will memory imprison us in the past, or will it serve as the foundation for a life we consciously create? The answer is not universal. It is personal, intimate, and unfolding with every recollection we keep and everyone we let go. For those who want to go deeper, several resources offer valuable perspectives. Daniel Schachter's The 7 Sins of Memory is essential for understanding why memory is flawed and how those flaws shape our daily lives. Charles Fernyhoug's Pieces of Light reveals how memory is the very fabric of identity, blending science with personal reflection. Lisa Geneva's Remember brings compassion and clarity to the science of Alzheimer's, making the subject accessible to all readers. Podcasts bring these ideas into everyday conversations. NPR's Hidden Brain connects memory to real-world decisions. Scott Barry Kaufman's The Psychology Podcast brings in leading thinkers to discuss how memory intersects with creativity and human potential. The APA's Speaking of Psychology provides reliable, research-driven discussions perfect for those who want clear and practical explanations. Finally, the Alzheimer's Association and the National Institute on Aging provide resources for families, caregivers, and anyone touched by memory loss, while the American Psychological Association offers access to ongoing memory research. Each of these resources adds a piece to the puzzle, reminding us that memory is not just about what we recall, but about how we live, how we love, and how we grow. As we close, we leave you with questions rather than answers. Is your memory a perfect record or a story you continuously rewrite? What does it mean to be a person if who we are is built on something so fragile? And how do the memories you choose to carry, or let go of, shape the person you are becoming? The paradox of memory may never be fully resolved, but it challenges us to reflect deeply on what it means to be human. Ultimately, the answer may lie not in abstract theory, but in how we choose, or are compelled, to live.